big news. talkSPORT understands Enzo Maresca has already agreed to take over from Pep Guardiola as Manchester City manager. We've got to get people on to talk about this. The latest on this story, talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs. Right, Ben?
Benny boy.
Evening, guys.
Hi, Benny boy.
Ben, look, huge story. I didn't see this coming. I really didn't. I believed that he was going to stay, but he is leaving.
Yeah, I think you listen to the words rather than the body language, the cheeky smiles, the interviews cut short. The expectation for quite some time has been that Pep Guardiola would go now as opposed to summer 2027 when his contract expires. And our understanding is that Pep is expected to leave. City insiders have felt that that was the direction of travel pretty much since the turn of the year. And win or lose the Premier League, and it's out of their hands, of course, Pep is going to go and Enzo Maresca, his former assistant and the Chelsea boss, will replace him. This was a decision that City have tried to keep a lid on. They're still declining to comment. They wanted Pep to be able to leave on his own terms, decide relatively late. But of course, there's always been a succession plan in place. And the information I have is that verbally anyway, Enzo Maresca has agreed to take over. This wasn't necessarily a job that was offered to him when he was still at Chelsea, but it's worth noting that there was multiple formal approaches last year that Maresca, along with Juventus as well, was contractually obligated to declare to Chelsea. Then flash forwards New Year's Eve, he resigned. A lot of people, maybe even within Chelsea, will come to the conclusion that Maresca jumped ship because he knew that this was a job he can get. My information is slightly different, that in January, Maresca knew City wanted him, but he was not guaranteed that job. And he actually went back to Chelsea and said, other clubs want me, I'll sign a new deal if you'd like. That never progressed. But then by March, in that international break, the direction of travel was far clearer. And now Enzo Maresca will be the next Manchester City manager, and Pep Guardiola is leaving.
Yeah, look, Pep is so intense. Any job in the Premier League is intense. But when you are as intense as him and have done so much and been there so long, I suppose my guess is that eventually you need a break. I mean, 9 years he's done there. He had a sabbatical when he left Bayern Munich. He has given his absolute everything to Manchester City and will go down as one of, if not the greatest manager this country's seen.
Yeah, and I think also the legacy, as you rightly say, is in the 20 trophies, including, let's not forget, in a season that at times has been inconsistent, although Arsenal have led the way in the Premier League, still 2 domestic trophies as well. And you never know. Arsenal have got to go away at Crystal Palace. We wait and see whether they rotate. Manchester City have got to get the job done tomorrow, and then it will go down to the final day. It's worth noting if they don't beat Bournemouth on Tuesday night, Arsenal will be champions without kicking a ball again. So let's see whether any of the players choose to throw a Jamie Vardy-style viewing party. But I think the expectation is that City are still favourites, even though Bournemouth have had a fantastic season. If it goes down to the final day, we might be in for a twist. But Pep Guardiola, I think, has thought long and hard about this decision. There was the previous season, which was extremely difficult. Then there was the Club World Cup, where they had that shock exit to Al Hilal. And that was off the back of 2 aggressive windows where Pep Guardiola had a number of weapons and yet nothing quite clicked and they were defensively frail. Now they're hitting a little bit of momentum, but I think Guardiola's decision is essentially he's hit his 20, he still could win the Premier League, and because Enzo Maresca is available too, that will be a factor because they're friends, and Pep's very conscious about the legacy continuing beyond him. So this isn't just City wanting Enzo Maresca, this is Pep Guardiola endorsing Enzo Maresca, and as a free agent, I think that will have been a factor in him also deciding to step aside.
I mean, look, him leaving, I don't know how I feel about it just for the Premier League, because we are talking about one of the greatest managers ever. You know, we've lost Jurgen Klopp, now we've lost Pep. I feel like the Premier League is getting worse without these managers.
Well, I mean, Pep was always going to go at some point. There's some fantastic managers in the Premier League, and the whole point is Enzo Maresca is now giving himself an opportunity off the back of winning silverware at Chelsea to try and get a elite trophy, a Champions League or a Premier League instead of a Conference League or a Club World Cup. And then...
Right, don't knock them, Benny boy. Don't knock them.
No, I'm not knocking them. Gold badge on the year for 4 years. But I think the point about the Premier League at the moment is that you've got a lot of up-and-coming managers and arguably even overperforming managers that have done fantastic jobs, and they're not getting enough credit. So, yeah, you can say Pep's going. And a bit like Mo Salah at Liverpool, managers, players of this magnitude, they're not always replaceable like for like, unless you're going to have the audacity to bring in someone maybe like a Luis Enrique. But let's not forget, it's been a season of managerial change. And now, as we head into next season, Xabi Alonso is a fascinating case at Chelsea. Keith Andrews has done a superb job at Brentford. Regis Lebris has got Sunderland into European contention heading into the final game. Fabian Hurtzler's signed a new deal, youngest manager in the Premier League. He's still got a chance of finishing in 6th place. And we have to give Mikel Arteta credit because he might finally get over the line with the Premier League and the Champions League as well. So, yeah, Pep's irreplaceable, but I disagree. I think there's some fantastic managers in the Premier League.
All right, Ben. Listen, mate. Thanks for your call.
Cheers, guys.
As Ben Jacobs there, obviously want to hear from Man City fans tonight. Pep Guardiola is leaving at the end of the season. How are you feeling about that? I mean, there's going to be some absolutely gutted Man City fans out there. Arsenal fans, though, they're going to be happy because they've won tonight and Pep Guardiola's leaving. I mean, it just strengthens them, really.
It does. And I think every other team will look at that and give, may have a chance. They're going to finish second or maybe first, but probably second. And there'll be other teams out there looking at that, because let's be honest, Pep Guardiola is, I don't know whether we truly appreciate him right here, right now. It might be, no, but I think there's a lot of fans out there that may go, he's had money to spend, he has, but he's still delivering pretty much every single season.
Yeah.
Every single season. And I think that we may reflect on this in a year, 2 years, 3 years and go, how good was Pep? How good was he? And there was a period, actually, when Man City won a couple of titles where I wasn't particularly impressed with the style of play. I felt they overplayed. I felt at times it was keep ball and pass you to death. But there was a change, actually, where he played, for me, a better brand of football. And the last time they won the Premier League, you were transfixed. But there was a pace and urgency. And, of course, the treble-winning side will go down as Manchester City. One of the best sides, well, I mean, there's only two that's ever won the treble. So, look, he's going to leave a hell of a legacy behind. And, yeah, it's about someone else now filling that space.
Okay, all right, get your calls in on this. Arsenal fans, you've won tonight. Big result. Not so much the performance, but you got it done. Kai Havertz, how he avoided a red card, I'll never know. And Man City fans want to hear from you about Pep Guardiola. 03 717 22 33 44.